G'day and welcome back. Today I thought I'd do a couple of repairs. People have dropped these in to me to just do a quick repair, turn it around and send it back out. The first one I'm going to do is this Operatic radio. It's from about 1953. Now the Operatic range of radios was made by Bland Radio in Adelaide. So they went by the name of Operatic. Bland didn't really show up in their name. The dial's still in fairly good condition, but if you were to touch any of those letters they would just fall off. This expanded metal grill is not original. It used to have louvers all the way across that lined up with these lines here. Also the knobs are not original. I can't remember what radio they're off, but they're certainly not off this. Spin it around, we'll have a look in the back. Alright, looks it's a 5-volt set. The problem with it is that it crackles or something, and that's what the owner said, and I've just noticed there's the dial string. So yeah, that's got more than one problem. I think I'll power it up in the case just in case the problem goes away when I pull it out. So I'll just put some power on it, we'll see what it does. Before I put the power on, I'll just check to see where it's set. It'll be 240 odd. Yeah, that's set okay, 240. Okay, I'll put the power on. I've got 238 volts there. I'm on dim bulb. Switch it on, we'll see what happens. Absolutely nothing. So one of these will be an on-off switch. There it goes. 23, 21, okay.
After a game, but obviously the way they played, how fast the semi-finals were, played over the weekend.
That's tone, obviously, that's volume. Now that would have been tuned. Oh, it still tunes. Oh, I see, the one that's broken is just for the dial. So, valves. The globe's not coming on at all. I'll go to full power. Alright, we're up at about 237 volts there.
We better get to this. Brighton's lawyers support is what we do. NRL news update, boys. Teams are in.
So it's working, all right.
Adam Kieran's having a clash.
There it is.
Dropped out also.
Now that's sounds like a silver microwave type thing.
For the Roosters, South Sydney, 1 to 17. No changes at all. So no Barlow and no Michael Chief End. They are 1 through to 17. That's the latest.
Yeah, there it is. That whistling noise. There it is there, no volume. Right, I've confirmed there's a fault there. I'll take it out of here, we'll see what's underneath. I've got it out of the case, but I might have made a mistake on what model it is. The speaker here's got 2nd of December 1959 printed on it. That doesn't mean the radio is made in 59, it could be a replacement speaker. It also has B1 printed on the back here, and there is a B1 model. So apart from the fact there is a B1 model, I have no information on it. I couldn't find a circuit for it. I'll flip this up and we'll have a look underneath. There's a number of capacitors here that need to go, and I can see on here the date is 30th of July 1959, so that ties up with the speaker. There's some more capacitors down here. These capacitors here may well have come from the 60s or the late 50s. I'm not sure when this style came in. There's probably a date stamp on there somewhere. I might work it out. I'll replace them anyway. So I'll change these two capacitors here, and there's a couple further up. There's some micas here. That mica that's giving trouble may well be in the output circuit somewhere. It's running. I've put it on full power, and here's the noise coming in. I'll just check the grid bias there. It should be, I think, about -12 for these. Yeah, it's -2, 2.2. So that's the coupling capacitor there. I think what I should do is I'll go around and change all these wax capacitors, the two electrolytics there. That's not going to take long. I'll put the footy on, just listen to that while I do that. I'll come back when it's finished. I've changed all the capacitors. I didn't check any resistors. I probably should have. I'll see how it goes without doing that. We'll check some, see if they're all right. So I'm on dim bulb, 230 volts. Well, that's not bad. 20 watts. There's the radio. I'm going to go to full power. Oh, it's got a noise in it already.
On NRL Nation, a break of that with more. Right around Australia and online at nrlnation.com.au. This is NRL Nation. Join the conversation. Call 1300.
I've turned the volume down. Before I changed the capacitors, I set this to 240 and read the wattage. 240 I had 53, so it's dropped it down to 42. The amperage was correspondingly 0.238, and now it's down to 192. So there was a lot of leaking going on in the capacitors. I turn the volume down. Yeah, so there it is. Sounds like a motorboat. So with no volume, the noise is there, so it's in the amp somewhere. So make a difference with the tone. Oh, there it is. So that's motorboating. And there it is. Sounds like a motorboat. I'll just see where the noise starts. So I'll use my signal tracer if I turn it on. Now this one here is the... Whoa. That's the grid of the 6M5. So it's there. So I'll go back one valve. And where are we? I think it's coming out of... Oh no, it's going down there. So it's this one here. That's working alright. There's no motorboating there. This schematic's not quite the right one, so but I put my signal tracer here and the motorboating is there, this side of the capacitor. When I put it here, there was nothing, so it's not coming from here, it's from around here somewhere. This cap here is the likely suspect. It's got high voltage on one side, 70 or so on the other. I'll lift the leg on it, we'll see if that stops the noise. So power's on again, we'll see what happens.
Fuel after the game. It's almost like they love playing here. They enjoyed the energy, they enjoyed the atmosphere, and it's turning into...
That's got it, I think. I'll put a clip on there and I'll see if the noise comes back. There it is. Alright. So it's in that capacitor, or, well, it could be the resistor, I suppose. I have a new cap in there, we'll see if that's fixed it. I'll just go straight to full power, there's no reason it should be any different to when I shut it down. Alright, it's warmed up, it's completely silent. Actually, it's completely silent.
6:93 a.m. He sort of ambles in, but he's got a strong shoulder and he gets good vertical bounce. Well, Conway, and beautiful scene presentation we're seeing on the replay.
See what the tone's like.
Having the same captain for all three formats and having the same squads and things, and they're three.
It's working alright. It sounds much better than it used to before I did the caps. It's clearer.
Ground, and that'll race away for 4.
Yeah, it sounds great. It did have that crackling in it, and it's not doing that now. The motorboating's gone as well. I have to leave this run for a period of time and just see if it happens again. So I'll flip it all over, start it up, and just let it run while I go and do something else. Alright, power on again. Speaker's got a couple of chew holes in it, so I'll fix those. Speaker's good, still sounds good. Another hole down there.
He doesn't look quite as on the ball as he used to be, so he's...
It sounds really good, it's a very good sounding radio.
And that's just made everything a little bit harder for him.
I'll leave this running, I'll go and do some video editing, and I'll just hear it in the background. If it starts making a noise, I'll come back and we'll investigate. Alright, I ran this radio for about 8 hours last night, and I had it on while I was watching Radio Cruncher, and it didn't miss a beat. It sounds good, it works perfectly. So I'm pretty sure it was this mica cap. I suspected it was a mica noise when I first heard it, when I first turned the radio on. So I'm pretty sure I've nailed it as far as that's concerned. Now, another thing I noticed was this sign-off here, the quality sign-off of the radio chassis when it was made. This was the way Bland did it. They just used a pencil and just wrote the date and put a little signature on it. Now, the other Bland radio I did a couple of months ago also had a little signature, and I'll see if I can dig the footage out and I'll just compare it here and see if it's the same guy or same signature. I don't think it is. There's a few things I want to do before I put this back in the case. This shortwave medium wave switch is noisy when you change from shortwave to medium wave. This tuning shaft is almost seized, and these two volume and tone are very, very stiff as well. So I'll put a bit of WD-40 on these shafts, let it soak for a while, and then I'll re-oil them. So, oh look, that's immediately freed that up. Very good. These ones, much better straight away. This one, not so much. No, there it goes. I'll give this switch a good soak with deoxit. Right, I'll let that sit for a while. I'll just put some machine oil here and work that in. Alright, that'll do. Now, this wasn't part of the original complaint, but it has got a pointer here, so I thought I'll try and make one and put it in. The pointer is actually missing, and of course the dial string is broken. So I'll just bend these little tangs up, and that should allow me to slide the glass out. There it is. I'll try and clean this off. This stuff's on the top here, so but I am not touching the lettering on the back. As you can probably see, it's gone wavy, and there's some bits of paint everywhere, so I'm not touching the back. Here's the broken string, and it's got a spring on. That should come off. There it goes. I'll tie the spring onto the string. There it is. I'll just tie that off again. I finished tying off the string and put some clear nail polish on there, and I put the spring back on its little post. This has to go up here and around that post there. I've got to pick up that pulley there, around there, around here, around here. Now I've got to go around this wheel here, so I'll put some tape on this string here to hold it on that pulley, because I'm going to have to take the slack off. Sorry, I'm going to have to put slack into it. I have to take the tension off is what I'm trying to say. I have to put the string around the back here, which isn't easy. I'll put some tape there just to hold the string on that. Alright, the string goes up there and back in the little slot. Okay. And I'll put a bit of tape there to hold that while I tie a knot. Alright, give me a second, I'll tie a knot in there and we'll put it back on. That's all done, got nice tension on it, it's tied off there, put some nail polish on it. In the last little bit I put some tape up here to hold the string. Of course I should have put it down here, that was the string I was working on. So I had to move that when I tied the knot. I need to make a pointer, so I have a bit of piano wire here. It doesn't seem like it used to just run along here, so I think it was just suspended from the cord there. So what I'll do is make one of those little Phillipsy type pointer setups they have, where it just sits on the string. I'll have to, well, stuff's hard. I'll have to kind of go around this piece of metal that's here. So I'll bring it over on an angle. So that'll sit in there. I have to go around here. I'll try and measure it, do it a bit more accurately. Put a bend about there somewhere. So I need to bring this down here and go more than 90 degrees. Something like, not like that. Maybe like that. Yeah, it's a bit of a Z shape. Okay, so I'll put that there. This should wrap around. I've got to get another wrap. Oh, I've made that cord pretty tight. There we go. That's not bad. I could use a bit more bend actually. I'll just bend that a little bit more. That's a bit better. A bit more perhaps. That's better. That's better. I'll cut it off about there. There we go. To finish it off, I'll put a bit of white heat shrink on, like that, and I'll put a bit of super glue down one end. Otherwise they tend to fall off. Okay, and just shrink it on. That looks pretty good, so I'll cut that off there. That's it. I'll put a little felt runner along the bottom here, and that will stop it rubbing on the glass. Super glue again. That'll do. There's two dial string runs on this. There's the one that I changed, and there's another one that goes around here, around the knob here, or the shaft, and then back again. So it's just a little egg-shaped run, and I'm going to replace it because it started to slip with the extra weight of the string I put on the new one. So what I thought I'd try, and I've tried this before, it didn't work, but I'm going to try and put a string, attach a string to one end and just pull it through. I've put pieces of masking tape there to sort of form a, well, to stop it coming off, stop the string falling off. So I'll just tie this off. I'm hoping if I pull this string, keep a bit of tension on the other string, it should go around and replace the original string. And there's the first fail. First fail is I've made these too tight. Won't even let the knot through. So I'll loosen them off a bit, which means that they'll just fall off. I don't think this is going to work. I turned the camera off there and it had given up, and when I moved this big wheel here, it actually started to work. So I'll keep going. Let the knot go past. There it is. This end ties on the spring. I'll do that and come back. I've tied the string off. It should be working. It's working fine. I need to align the pointer with the glass, of course. I've got my generator on 600, and I'll put some volume on. There we are. You can't really see it. ZL there is in Hobart. The L's moved a little bit, so I'll just put the pointer there and we should come up with a signal. Whoa, getting too loud. I'll turn it down actually. Yeah, look, that's right on. That's perfect. Okay. So I didn't adjust that. I just put it on. I didn't touch it. So let's go to 15 on the generator. I'll come up here. There's AK up the end there. I'll show you there. There it is. So if I go to AK, we should be somewhere there. Turn it up a bit. It's got a little bit past it. I have the radio on its side. I'll just take this back to AK. So there's 3AK, which is 1500. This one here should be the oscillator, if I'm right. There it is. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's brought that back. And this one here should be the trimmer for the antenna. I think that's about right where it was. Okay, back to 600 there. I'll just do a quick check. I'll run this back to ZL. If it's close, I'll leave it. It's pretty much right. Nope, perfect. Okay, done. That's all I'm doing. All right, I'll just make sure the tuning's somewhere near it should be. It'll be fine. And that's 612.
The custom, the tradition here is that
so that's pretty close to where 612 will be. There's KQ, it might line up with that. Yeah, not bad. And the only other one that generally lines up is BC up here. Now that's pretty hard to get where I am. I should get something though. Yeah, it's a little bit out, BC. I mean, it's a little bit out anyway, because BC's not where it used to be. I'm going to take this out in the garage. I will give it a bit of a clean up in the chassis there and put it back in its case. We'll do a final test and it can go back to its owner. It's all back in the case. I gave the case a bit of a polish as well. And working very, very nicely. Very nice.
Into the upcoming proceedings.
New pointer's working well. Dial's working well.
All I could think about was my family.
Yeah, so working really well. I patched all the holes in the speaker as well and put it all back together. When I polished it, this says Carmen. I couldn't read it before, but it says Carmen. Here's the casualty list. That was the main culprit, of course. These together were pulling too much power. There's turned into resistors, probably these two here actually. But the radio works really well. There's not a lot of hum at all. So yeah, very happy. It can go back to its owner now. So let's have a look at the next job. This is the second radio I'm going to do. This is a Westinghouse, well, I call them the refrigerator. I think they're called Joule or something, little Joule. But when it's in its little case, it kind of looks like a refrigerator. It actually stands up this way, so this is the base. So it stands on this end. I think these were made in about 1946 or 7, and the model number is an H124, H125 or 126. I'm not sure what it is. They all seem to be similar. There's some little modifications done to them. It's a 6 valve, usually referred to as an All-American 6 or AA6. I've already started repairing this, and what happened was I videoed the whole thing, probably an hour or so, changed some capacitors, but I went to dinner and came back and I thought I'd better edit some of it. I uploaded it into my editing computer, and there was nothing there. The files had not copied. So I'll have to start again with this brief overview. The gentleman that owned it rang me up and said, look, it stopped working. It was working and then it stopped. Can you have a look at it? I plugged it in and it would work, but very, very faint signal, and it had a lot of motorboating in it. So you could touch something on the side of the chassis, like an earth clip or even a probe or something, and it would stop the motorboating. So that to me means there's a capacitor faulty, or it could be a valve. So I turned it off and looked in the bottom here, and what it has is some new stuff, and there's some new capacitors there, but it had all the old wax capacitors in here still. They'd changed the coupling capacitor with a disc capacitor there. I've already changed these 3. That was the 3 I was working on. I think that should stop the motorboating. So that's where I'm at now. I had turned it over to test it, went to dinner, came back, and I have to start again. So I'm going to flip it over again. We'll see if that's made any difference to it. I've set the variac to 110 for this American radio. It's 115 or whatever it was back then. It's on a isolated power supply too, so it's a hot chassis. Dim bulb, there's the bulb. Now I've had this running before, so I'm pretty confident it's okay so far. I will turn it up. I should put an antenna on it, shouldn't I? And that's the ground. Well, actually it's not the ground, it's the other end of that coil in there. 84. I'm going to go to full power. Now the other thing I didn't say was it's got very distorted sound.
We've got another musical sort of clue here. I'm going to go the sopranos. Well, this is the theme song. So you are absolutely correct.
Yeah, there's a capacitor in there and it's not working. That's doing nothing there. It might be a bad solder joint, I suppose, but I suspect the capacitor's no good.
Anyway,
you can hear how distorted it is, but it's not doing that motorboating. So I think I've nailed that bit. So what I'll do is I'll turn it over. I'll continue to replace the capacitors, and that should fix a lot of the problems, I hope. So there's the 3 I've already replaced. I'm going to replace this one, one there and one there. We'll see if that makes any difference to the sound. I also need to address these capacitors they got in here. These are the smoothing caps. There's the other one up there. These are 2 10s paralleled, so that's 20 microfarad, and this one's 32, I think. So they've downsized. They're supposed to be 50. That's supposed to be 50, and that's supposed to be 50. It seems to sound all right. I'll see how that goes. Let me change these 3. I'll come back and we'll turn it over and see if it's made a difference. Okay, I've replaced those last few caps, that one, and that one. I'll turn it on, we'll see if it's done anything. I don't think it's going to fix that distortion. I suspect it's the speaker, actually. I also changed the capacitor on the antenna ground.
Prisoners died in a central Victorian jail.
No, still got the distortion.
Here's Jessica Longbottom.
Clinton Auster, Gunditjamara.
Yeah. I'll see if changing that capacitor here has done anything, if we can get it off. Here it is.
As well as stars being supported, and that a smoking ceremony.
Yeah, it certainly has. So that capacitor there was not working. Alright, so I think it's the speaker. I could just put it on the shop speaker. What I can do otherwise is use my signal tracer. So if I turn that on, and I'll put this on, I'll put it on chassis ground, should be alright. And I think that's before the volume control, so we should get some. Let's turn it down a bit.
Have been held in Hobart and Launceston this year. In her summing up today.
So that's perfectly clear. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the speaker. This is the one going into the output valve. This will be dependent on the volume controller.
There are calls for infrastructure across regional areas to be improved.
Yeah, so that's clear as well. So it's the speaker, it's no good. I'll have a look and see what I can do with that. Not much, I don't think. This looks like it's had some work done to it. That doesn't look original. Oh, it rubs. Okay. Yeah, somebody's repaired this. I have to break this off, I think. Yeah. That looks like a new voice coil, but it's rubbing on the pole there. I can't even get a piece of plastic in there. So it appears that voice coil is too small for the size of the magnet pole. Even trying to distort that, I cannot get it to a position where it doesn't rub. I'll take the speaker out. I'll see if I can do something to fix it. So what do I do? I could try and cut out the voice coil and somehow get the wires out of here. But looking in the back, it's got a sizable amount of adhesive there. I'd have to cut a fair deep cut in there, I think. What would be good is if I could take the whole cone out. I'm not sure if I can do that. That would mean I would have to release this spider in the back here. So if I was to put a bit of maybe acetone or something in there to loosen the glue on the spider, if I can release the cone around the top here, that whole thing can come out. I could try and rebore that voice coil to give it some clearance. I've sort of had a bit of a think. This isn't my speaker. I was prepared to destroy it just to see if I could fix it. I do have another one here, and I think perhaps I should just fit this one and hand this one back to the owner. So I think I'll do that. A bit disappointing because I really would have liked to try and break one of these apart so you can actually fix it, but I'll leave it. So this one works fine. These are
Bedraggled man. Yeah, and that was the ship was an inter-island trader called the Delac.
So these are quite good actually. They're called hobby speakers. They're rated at about 2 or 3 watts or something. They're 4 ohm, so that'll do perfectly. I've just got to work out how to mount it in the chassis. The next problem with the speaker is making a bracket for it. I've cut out a little paper template. I've then fashioned a shape from the template. I've made some mods there. So that's got to have a bend in it, and then the speaker will fit like that. And 2 bolts into the chassis that are pre-existing. So I need to drill some holes for the chassis, and there's a couple there for the speaker. Alright, that's come up pretty good, and that should fit on there, and that'll just bolt to the radio. I've mounted the bracket there with 2 screws into the chassis, and that's going to go there, I think. So 2 screws through there, and it's done. Need 3 hands for this. So that screw's holding it firm enough to get this other screw in. That looks pretty good, reasonably solid. I need to solder the wires on the back. Alright, I've put the 2 valves in, so I'll give it a go. Okay, let's put some power on it.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. We are hearing from you at the same time as listening to a song titled Concerning Hobbits.
Wow.
From this film, Peter, you can tell us about the film, please.
Oh, the films? Well, there was 3 films, wasn't there? The Lord of the Rings, back in 2000.
Right, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine the levels with the Sharkies about to play this big game out there. You're a comedian as well.
Yeah, sounds good. So that's fixed that problem. It seems to be working all right. It's only pulling 20 watts, which is what I would expect. This tuning is very, very hard. It's very hard to turn. Right there, it's getting so tight I can't move it. I think it might benefit from a thinner diameter string, and it doesn't need to be quite that tight, I don't think. I'll try putting a thinner string on it and see what happens. Alright, I'll pull that apart now. I've done a quick sketch of the way the thing's wrapped. It's pretty easy though. Very strong spring. Yeah, it just goes around and around. That's it. This tuner's a bit hard to move. I've sprayed it out with a bit of Servasol, and I'll just put a bit of grease back in it. And that's immediate. Try and run a bit of oil down that rear bearing as well. Yeah, that's better. that's better. Alright, I've got the spring on, so that goes there, that goes up there, simply goes around there. They had it twice through there, or once really. I'm going to do a second wrap around there. It just doesn't seem enough. It's only got one, sort of the top half of 2 bits of string going over it. It doesn't seem enough grip. I'll see how it goes. I'll tie a loop in here and tie it off and we'll see if it's working or not. Right, that's a lot better. It's not the smoothest operation around, but with the knob on it, it'll be fine. I need to align this dial plate over the generator on 600. If I turn it up a bit, it should be around here somewhere. I think that's about it there. I don't have the screw in the middle tight, so I should be able to bring that up so it's about halfway through the 6. That'll be good enough. I'll go to 14. Well, I reckon that's pretty good. Alright, I have the volume down and there's very little hum, so those smoothing caps are working fine. I'm going to leave them. I'll just turn it up and try and sweep through the dial. Away.
So
Quite the attempt.
obviously we just...
And they perceive their neighbourhood to be more criminogenic, not just those.
Sorry, what's criminogenic?
More crime happening.
Sounds good. These little speakers, not too bad. They're only about $5, so not bad at all. So the only thing to do now is put it in its cabinet. I was just about to install this antenna and I thought I'd better check this cap here. It's a bit odd having a capacitor there, and it in fact goes to the chassis of the radio. I didn't think it did. So I'm going to change that cap for a safety cap. I've put the aerial back on and I've got the outer frame of the radio here, and it's got an antenna wire there that's coming off here, and it has an antenna terminal on the back. This looks like it goes in there and comes out that slot there. So there's a bolt goes in there, or a nut. But it looks like these covers have been painted with metallic, so if they have got metal in them, it might affect their ability to pick up a signal on that antenna. So that goes there. I'll put a cushion there, and that should push up into place there, I think. So I can turn it over now. So this has to go on there. I guess it all closes up. Okay. So the handle goes in here, like that, and just lift that up a bit. There it is. So screw in there to hold. Oh, how's that work? Hasn't got a slot. Oh, how do you do that? This must be a hex in there. There's a screw goes in there. To take the handle off again, there's a screw goes in here as well. There it goes. I'll put this screw back, and I've got a little hex drive there for it. And get the knobs in there. This one's just bending out of the way. Well, there it is, all together, and what a strange looking machine. I'm not sure what they were going for with the look of it, but it was a very popular radio. I believe there's lots around, so I assume it was reasonably popular. And of course it's got the handle on the top so you can run around the house with it. And it does click in there. It doesn't work very well. Anyway, now I have the power on. It should have warmed up by now. There it is. And there should be a station coming just after this 6.
Great partnerships between the federal and state government. I look at Victoria and New South Wales as the benchmark, where affordable...
That's pretty right. And there should be another one just before the 7, only just before it. There it is. So that's good too.
Around.
5 minus 350 for Oyster Stride at $6. Albion Park Race 10 and 8. We're tennis way then to bidding.
There should be another one just about here. That's about all I get. There's stations further down. Until I do my aerial, we're not going to pick them up properly.
In a few distinct areas, namely the incarceration rates are getting worse. There are draconian
okay, there's one there. So it works all right. Weird radio.
I hope you enjoy my story.
The Wonder of Little Things by Vince Copley. Book and audio book narrated by Greg Fryer.
There they are, both working perfectly. And I hope the owners are happy with the result. I'm very happy with them. And it was a little bit of a different thing for me just to do a pretty basic repair. I probably got a bit carried away doing dials and things, but well worth it if these little radios get a bit more life. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you can join me next time for my next radio adventure.